Hello, I'm Chris Sissons and I'm a community web consultant, and this is my second video, and today we're looking at the 5 best intermediate body websites. And you may have seen my first video, which was the 5 worst intermediate body websites. Why review websites at all? Well, somebody sent me this wonderful quote from Robert Chambers: "We've made a mistake, good! What can we learn from it?" And if you are one of the creators of the websites that I'm reviewing and you get a little bit hurt by my criticisms, don't be hurt at all. Take heart. You are teaching other people. They're learning from your mistakes, and if you learn from your mistakes, everybody shall ultimately be happy. Most of the problems are easy to resolve, and with these 5 least worst sites, mostly they don't need technical solutions. Now notice I've changed it from 5 best to 5 least worst sites. I was talking with a friend who said, look, it sounds to me as if these are not good sites the way you're describing them. You're describing the 5 least worst. Out of 40 sites, the standard is really pretty poor, as we shall see. The issues this time are mainly content related, and it's really important to understand why content is more important than design or technology. It's more important, and it is easier for ordinary people who know very little about web design to do something about it. So let me tell you or remind you what is an intermediate body. The reason I've chosen the intermediate bodies is because it's an opportunity to compare similar organisations. About 40 of these intermediate bodies where church traditions work together, and it's usually across an English county, occasionally in fact one of the 5 least worst sites is not an English county. It's a small town, which is one of the exceptions, but most of them work across the county. And the reason I'm using these websites is to show you what goes wrong with so many voluntary sector websites. And there are all sorts of reasons: shortage of resources, shortage of time to put in the work, and all sorts of other reasons why things go seriously wrong with our websites. And these 5 sites really illustrate some of the issues that websites are facing. A few ground rules. My aim is to be constructive, but we will find that the quality of these 5 least worst sites is very poor indeed. Last time I said you either need to laugh or cry. I think now that if these are the best of the 40 odd sites, it's a reason to weep rather than to laugh. It is really hard to find much evidence of good practice amongst these sites, and it would be so easy with relatively little investment to make a much better job of them all. So there is hope, and these 5 sites could all be improved with a little TLC. So here is the first of these sites. It's churches linked across Staffordshire and the Potteries. First thing I want to say is this is a WordPress site, and WordPress is a content management system that I use, and I really think that if you want a good website with a minimum of fuss and bother, WordPress is your first port of call. There's no need to mess about with anything else. Now you'll notice when we go down here that this is the Coraline theme, and the Coraline theme, I found it and discovered this image belongs to the Coraline theme. It is nothing to do with the Staffordshire churches. They really need to put an image in there that's relevant to what they're doing. I'm not happy at all with clasp being the first word that you see. It's not at all clear what clasp is. It's there again. It's only when you get down to the heading right down here that you discover it's churches. CLASP stands for churches linked across Staffordshire and the Potteries. The heading needs to be up at the top here where we can see it. If it read churches linked across Staffordshire and the Potteries, helping churches work together, that would be good. And then you could have a more relevant, appealing heading down here that appeals to the site visitor. I like this sidebar, or some of it at any rate. The dreaded word welcome is there. As I said in the last video, you do not need to welcome people to your website. If people are not welcome to your website, why are you putting the time and effort in? Similarly, you don't really need thanks for looking in. But then it does improve. We hope that you, note the use of the word you there, we hope that you will find some useful material here to help you, especially if you're working in or with any of the Christian churches across Staffordshire and the Potteries. It's at least drawing the visitor in, and then it goes on to explain what class does. It could be even better than that. You can use a search bar below to look for topics on this site. That does assume that the visitor knows what they're looking for. But yeah, now it would be much better if that sidebar was on the left, because then the eye would hit it first. You actually do need the patience to stay here. And if, like most people, you read the main content, then the likelihood is you'll never get to the sidebar and click away before you go any further, because it's turgid stuff. I mean, CLASP is the intermediate ecumenical body, then an asterisk to explain what it means. Dear me, who's got the patience to wade through all of that stuff? It's not good. The navigation looks messy. It's got this dangling bit, the interface here. If you got rid of the words with others from there, the chances are interface would fit on there and it would look much better. And I think that is all I want to say. Oh no, one other point. Let's go to events. What would you expect under events? You would expect some events. Well, we've got a heading that says events, but then it's all about a newsletter. A newsletter is not an event. I suppose the publication of an issue of it might be an event. This is the call to action. This should be on the home page. The home page should be about getting people to sign up using an online form to an email list that then means you can deliver updates from the website and the newsletter direct into the inboxes of subscribers. This is a very complicated way of doing it. It's going to be quite difficult for people to find it, and when they do find it, I do wonder how many people, particularly people who have just stumbled onto the website, have ever clicked on this link. Maybe people who have been asked to do it at a meeting have done it, but I suspect nobody has. It needs a lot more prominence and it needs to be a lot more user-friendly. But that's where we are. So let's move on now to Churches Together North Thames. Now, there are a lot of things wrong with this website. I would much prefer a WordPress content management system. It looks stilted and difficult, but I do quite like some aspects of it. One of the things I like is this navigation. Who's who, what's where, what's on, how to do it. Where else? That's a bit obscure. That's pointing to other similar related organisations. But it feels sort of witty and friendly. We then got welcome, of course. We've got to have the word welcome. We don't want people to arrive here thinking they're not welcome. And then it's a bit third person. It doesn't really explain what this is about. But what looks good is find your local group. At last, a call to action. You remember on the last site there was no call to action. They could so easily put a call to action to sign up to the newsletter, but they haven't. This one has got a call to action and it gains a brownie point for that. So let's go and find our local group, shall we? And here we are at What's Where. Oh dear me, it was so promising, and then we get this totally incomprehensible page. Maps showing CTNT, the abbreviation doesn't really help, even though I can see Churches Together North Thames above. Area and neighbouring intermediate bodies in. Why should I want that? I thought you were going to show me my local group. What's a local ecumenical partnership? What are ecumenical groups in the CTNT area? This page is incomprehensible. It is not attractive. There is no reason I should even begin to stay on it. I just want to go. Black Country Churches Engaged. Now this is a wonderful theme. Very down with the kids, isn't it? Graffiti and so on. If you scroll down, you'll find the Grey Z theme. I couldn't find it, but the artwork will come from the theme, and you might recognise this photograph from the CLASP website. It's the same person who's put it together. and there are a lot of similarities. That's a bit of a mistake. About Us, there's normally an About page. This is the home page that we're on, and About Us is confusing on here. And BCCE question mark doesn't really help. We've already got the name of the organisation up here, so there's no need to repeat it, and certainly not as an acronym, and then to say that is an acronym for. I need to know what is in this for me. I do not need to know that BCCE is an acronym for Black Country Churches Engaged, please. But the good thing is the sidebar is here. It's still got the dreaded word welcome in it, but this time it's on the left hand side, and I think that is probably a more successful place to put it. We've then got all this stuff about structures. What that's doing on the home page is anybody's guess. It's not of any interest to me or to anybody else. And this site also has somewhere on it a newsletter. Same trick as on the previous one. What's on? Not events. We publish a newsletter, and same thing applies. Get it on the front page with a proper form that signs you up to an email list. It'll look a lot better. So, onward. This is the second best website for an intermediate body. Milton Keynes Mission Partnership. Milton Keynes is one of the few intermediate bodies that's not a county, and it's a nice, attractive website. And the only problem I've got with this is if I'd just moved into the area, I wouldn't have a clue what this site is about. It needs an H1 heading at the top and then a few paragraphs telling me what Milton Keynes Mission Partnership offers to me. It's not doing that. It's got this strange group of rather phased out looking people taking a short break from something. It's got a number of events, which looks good, and then loads and loads and loads of links. But I really don't know where I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's nice. It's a nice design. And if we give this a moment, here we are on the events page, and you can see it's attractive and well laid out. The eye doesn't necessarily flow around these dates so easily, but I think with a little bit more care, this site could be very usable. And now, for the least worst of all the intermediate body websites, we go to Birmingham. And the first thing that hits you is this wall of colour. It does look very bright and very cheerful. And this is a website with a lot of potential. It needs a few details. The first thing is you've got all this empty space here, and then Birmingham Churches Together scrunched up on the right. The eye is never going to see that because the eye is going to look there and then go down the page. This wall of dots prevents the eye from going across to Birmingham Churches Together. I think it would be better if the words Birmingham Churches Together was across there and the wall of dots was in this corner, and then we'll be able to see exactly where we are. We've then got a distraction here on the right. I don't like these sliders and things, they just get in the way, but there it is. But this is good. At the heart of Christian Partnership in Birmingham and Solihull. It's at least giving you some idea what this is about, and then the heading completely wrecks it with the immortal words, welcome to the website of. Oh, I'm on a website. Well, there's a surprise. Surely you can find something more inviting than that. Sign up for our newsletter, because they do have a newsletter. What we've got is this very complicated keep up to date with news by signing up for our monthly newsletter and Birmingham Ecumenical News. I think they've got two newsletters. It's very confusing. It doesn't tell you to go into the sidebar to find the means to sign up. In fact, this should be out here in the middle, in the main column, so that the visitor can get on and see it and respond to it. And that would be a brilliant call to action. Yes, some of the text is in grey on white, which is not easy to read. It would be better if it was a good black text. I think some people will struggle to read that, but it's reasonably well organised and it looks good, and it's a site with a lot of potential. So they may be the least worst of 40 very poor websites, but they've got something to build on, and maybe you'll see some changes in the near future. As I said at the beginning, I'm Chris Sissons. I'm a community web consultant. I'm very happy to help any voluntary organisation with its website. I do website reviews, and I can advise and support you as you improve the performance of your website. So go over to my website, www.communitywebconsultant.com, and find out what I've got to offer. Thank you.